Send Me Back, Part 1. The arrival, the shuttle landed on Platform 7 of lunar colony Habaragi with a loud hiss of steam. Park Do-hyun stood at the entrance of his small habitat, watching the metal ramp lower slowly. He had not ordered any supplies. He had not called for any visitors. Yet here was a ship, sitting on his private landing pad like it belonged there. The door opened, and Do-hyun felt his heart stop. A woman stepped out. No, not a woman. Something else entirely. She stood nearly 2 meters tall, with skin that shimmered like dark purple glass under the colony lights. Small horns curved backward from her forehead, and her eyes glowed golden like twin suns. Thin scales covered her arms and neck, catching the light with every movement. A long tail swayed behind her as she walked down the ramp, carrying a single bag. She was Draconary. A dragon woman. Do-hyun had seen pictures of them before, in news feeds and government announcements. The Draconary were one of the most powerful species in the Galactic Confederacy. They lived for hundreds of years, breathed fire when angry, and considered most other species beneath them. What was one doing on his tiny moon colony? The woman stopped in front of him. She looked at a small device in her hand, then back at his face. "You are Park Do-hyun?" she asked. Her voice was deep and smooth, like stones rolling in a river. "Yes," he said slowly. "Who are you?" "I am Yura," she said. "I am your bride." Do-hyun blinked. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. No words came out. Yura tilted her head, studying him with those burning golden eyes. "You received a notification from the Galactic Marriage Exchange Program, yes? I was matched to you 3 months ago. I have traveled across 4 star systems to reach this place. There must be a mistake," Do-hyun finally said. "I never applied for any marriage program." Yura's eyes narrowed. She held up her device and showed him the screen. There was his name, his address, his identification number, even his biometric signature. Everything was correct. "This is your information, is it not?" she asked. Do-hyun stared at the screen. It was all accurate. But he had never signed anything. He had never agreed to this. Someone had used his identity without his knowledge. "I did not do this," he said firmly. Someone made a mistake. Or someone lied. Either way, you cannot stay here. Yura's scales seemed to darken. Her tail stopped swaying. "You are refusing me?" "I am not refusing you," Do-hyun said quickly. He had heard stories about Draconary anger. He did not want to experience it personally. "I am saying there has been an error. You should go back to your home world and find the person who actually applied for this program. Go back." Yura laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Do you know how much it costs to travel from the Draconary Empire to this small rock? 7 years of a human salary. I do not have that money. And even if I did, I cannot simply return. Why not?" Yura did not answer. She looked away, her jaw tight. Do-hyun sighed. The sun was setting behind the colony dome, painting everything in shades of orange and red. He was tired. He had spent 12 hours fixing water recyclers in the underground tunnels. He did not have energy for this problem, but he also could not leave her standing outside. "Come inside," he said finally. "We will figure this out tomorrow." Yura looked surprised. "You would let me into your home? Even though you do not want me here?" "I do not want anyone here," Do-hyun said honestly. "But I am not cruel enough to leave someone outside with nowhere to go. You can stay until we contact the program administrators and fix this mistake." He turned and walked into his habitat. After a moment, he heard her footsteps following behind him. The habitat was small and simple. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen area, and a living space with a worn couch. Everything was clean but old. Do-hyun had lived here alone for 5 years, ever since the accident that took his parents and younger brother. He had no photographs on the walls, no decorations, no signs that anyone lived here at all. Why you are? I looked around with an expression that was hard to read. This is where you live? Yes, it is very empty. I do not need much. Do-hyun pointed to the couch. You can sleep there tonight. Tomorrow we will call the program office and explain the situation. Yura nodded slowly. She set her bag down on the floor and sat on the edge of the couch. She looked uncomfortable, like a wild animal trapped in a cage. Do-hyun understood that feeling. He felt it every day. Thank you, she said quietly, for not throwing me out. Do-hyun shrugged. Get some rest. He went to his bedroom and closed the door. For a long time, he lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep would not come. His mind kept returning to the woman in his living room. The dragon woman who had crossed the stars to marry him. How had this happened? Who had signed him up for this program? And why? Around midnight, his communication device buzzed. A new message had arrived, marked as encrypted and anonymous. Do-hyun frowned and opened it. The message contained only 2 sentences. Do not send her back. The Draconary Empress will execute her the moment she returns. Do-hyun read the message 3 times. His blood turned cold. He got up and walked quietly to the living room. Yura was lying on the couch, but she was not asleep. She was staring at the ceiling, just as he had been doing moments ago. Her golden eyes reflected the dim light from the window. You are still awake, she said without looking at him. Yes. Do-hyun sat down on the floor near the couch. Tell me something, Yura. What? Why can you not go back to your home world? Yura was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Because there is nothing left for me there. Because everyone I loved is dead. Because if I return, I will die too. Do-hyun thought about the message on his device. He thought about the fear hidden beneath Yura's proud expression. He thought about his own empty life and the family he had lost. Then I guess you are staying here, he said. Yura turned her head to look at him. For a moment, her golden eyes softened. Why would you help me? You do not know me. You did not ask for this trouble. Do-hyun stood up and walked back toward his bedroom. At the door, he paused. Because someone should have helped my family when they needed it, he said. No one did. I will not make the same mistake. He closed the door, leaving Yura alone with her thoughts and the weight of secrets she had not yet shared. Outside the colony dome, the stars burned cold and silent, keeping watch over 2 broken souls who had found each other by accident or perhaps by design. Send Me Back, Part 2. The Truth Beneath Scales. 1 week passed on lunar colony Habaragi. Do-hyun went to work every morning, fixing machines and checking water systems in the underground tunnels. Yura stayed in the habitat, waiting for news from the marriage program administrators. The news never came. Every call was redirected. Every message went unanswered. It was as if someone had erased all records of her application. Do-hyun watched her grow more anxious with each passing day. She paced the small living room like a caged animal. She barely ate. She barely slept. Sometimes he caught her staring out the window at the stars, her golden eyes filled with something that looked like grief. On the 7th night, Do-hyun decided he could not wait any longer. He needed answers. He came home early from work and found Yura sitting on the couch, holding a small object in her hands. It was a pendant, shaped like a flame, made from some dark metal he did not recognize. She was rubbing it with her thumb, lost in thought. What is that? He asked. Why you are quickly hid the pendant in her pocket. Nothing. Just a memory. Do-hyun sat down across from her. Yura, I need you to tell me the truth. The truth about what? About why someone sent me a message saying the Empress will kill you if you go back. Yura froze. Her scales darkened, shifting from purple to almost black. Her tail curled tightly around her legs. For a moment, Do-yoon thought she might run, or fight, or breathe fire at him. Instead, she laughed. It was a broken, bitter sound. "So you know," she said softly. I wondered how long it would take. "Tell me everything." Yura was silent for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was flat and empty. "My full name is Lady Yura of the Third Flame. My father was General Kang, commander of the Northern Fleet, one of the most powerful warriors in the Draconary Empire. He served the Empress faithfully for 200 years. She paused, her claws digging into the couch cushion. 3 years ago, my father discovered that the Empress was planning to start a war with the Confederacy. She wanted to expand our empire, to conquer weaker species and take their resources. My father refused to support her. He spoke against her in the High Council. He called her actions dishonorable. What happened to him? She executed him for treason, in front of the entire court. She made me watch. Diane felt his stomach twist. He had heard that the Draconari were harsh, but this was something else entirely. After my father died, the Empress took everything from my family. Our lands, our titles, our wealth. My mother fled to the outer colonies and died of grief within a year. My younger brothers were sent to labor camps. I do not know if they are still alive. And you? Do-hyun asked. How did you end up in a marriage program? Yura smiled, but her eyes were cold. The Empress did not want to execute me. That would make me a martyr. Instead, she arranged for me to disappear. The marriage program was her idea. She matched me with a random human on a small colony far from Draconary space. Someone unimportant. Someone who would not cause problems if I vanished. She expected you to die here, or be forgotten. Either way, I would no longer be a threat to her. Do-hyun leaned back in his chair. His mind was spinning. He was just a maintenance worker on a lunar colony. He fixed pipes and cleaned filters. He had no power, no connections, no way to fight an empire. And yet, here he was, caught in the middle of a political conspiracy that spanned star systems. Why did you not tell me this before? He asked. Would you have let me stay if I had told you? Do-hyun thought about it. He wanted to say yes, but honestly, he was not sure. I do not blame you for hating me, Yura continued. I brought danger to your door without your permission. If the Empress learns that you are protecting me, she will destroy you. Your career, your home, your life, all of it will burn. She stood up and walked to the window. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass, ghost-like and sad. That is why I asked to be sent back when I first arrived. I thought if I returned and surrendered, the Empress might leave you alone. But now that you know the truth, that option is gone. She will see you as a witness, a threat. Then we are both in danger, Do-hyun said. Yes, the room fell silent. Outside, the colony lights flickered as the power grid shifted for the night cycle. Somewhere in the distance, a transport ship hummed as it departed for Earth. Do-hyun's communication device buzzed. A hologram appeared above it, his sister Bora, calling from her research station on Mars. Her face was sharp and worried. Do-hyun, what the hell is going on? She demanded. I just got a security alert saying a Draconary noble is registered at your address. Please tell me this is a mistake. It is not a mistake. Are you insane? Do you know what the Draconary do to humans who get involved in their politics? They burn them alive. Bora, calm down. Calm down? There is a dragon woman in your house, and you want me to calm down? Yura turned from the window. She looked at the hologram with curiosity. Your sister? Yes, Do-hyun said. Yura, this is Bora. Bora, this is Yura. Bora stared at Yura through the hologram. Her expression shifted from anger to fear to something that might have been pity. "You are the general's daughter," Bora said quietly. "The one the Empress exiled. You know about me?" "Everyone in the science community knows. Your father funded half the research programs in the Confederacy. When he died, the Empress cut all the funding. Hundreds of projects collapsed. Thousands of scientists lost their work." Yura lowered her head. "I did not know that." "Your father was a good man," Bora said. "He believed in knowledge over conquest. That is why the Empress killed him." Another alert flashed on Do-hyun's device. This one came from the colony's early warning system. A ship had entered the solar system. A big ship, a Draconary warship. "Official reason for arrival, routine diplomatic visit," Do-hyun read aloud. He looked at Yura. "Is this routine?" Yura's face had gone pale beneath her scales. "No, they're coming for me." Bora's hologram flickered with interference. "Do-hyun, you need to send her away. Now, before they reach the colony." Do-hyun looked at his sister. He looked at Yura. He thought about his empty life, his dead family, all the years he had spent alone on this cold rock dot. Then he turned off the communication device. "What are you doing?" Yura asked, "Making a choice. You should listen to your sister. I am not worth dying for." Do-hyun walked to his storage closet and pulled out an old coat. He put it on and grabbed his toolkit. "My father used to say something," he said quietly. "He said that humans are not strong because we never fall. We are strong because we always get back up. I have been lying down for 5 years, Yura. Maybe it is time I stood up again." He opened the front door and looked back at her. "You came to my door. That makes you my responsibility. I do not care if the Empress herself comes to take you. She will have to go through me first." Yura stared at him. Her golden eyes were wide, and for the first time since she arrived, she looked like she might cry. "You are either very brave," she whispered, "or very stupid." Do-hyun smiled. "Probably both. Now come on. We have work to do." Semi-Back, Part 3. Human Stubbornness, the Draconary. Warship Crimson Talon hung in orbit above Earth's moon like a dark cloud. It was massive, nearly a kilometer long, covered in black armor and glowing red symbols. Smaller shuttles launched from its belly and descended toward the colonies below. Do-hyun stood at the entrance of his habitat, watching one of those shuttles land on Platform 7, the same platform where Yura had arrived 1 week ago. It felt like a lifetime had passed since then. Yura stood beside him, her scales shifting nervously between purple and gray. She had not slept at all the previous night. Neither had Do-hyun. "You should hide," she said quietly. "Let me face them alone." "No, Do-hyun, please. You do not understand what they will do to you." "I understand enough." The shuttle's ramp lowered with a hiss of steam. 4 Draconary soldiers stepped out first, wearing black armor and carrying plasma rifles. They formed a line on either side of the ramp, standing at attention. Then the prince appeared. He was younger than Yura, perhaps the equivalent of a human in his 20s. His scales were deep red, almost the color of blood, and his eyes burned like embers. A golden circlet sat on his head, marking his royal status. He walked down the ramp slowly, every movement precise and controlled. "Sister," he said, stopping a few meters from Yura. "It has been a long time." "Hayok," Yura replied. Her voice was steady, but Do-hyun could see her hands shaking. "You should not be here. Mother sent me to check on your well-being. She was worried when you did not respond to her messages. The Empress is not my mother. She killed my father. She destroyed my family. She has no right to worry about me." Prince Hayok smiled coldly, still as defiant as ever. Father would be proud. He turned his attention to Do-hyun, looking him up and down like a predator examining prey. "And who is this?" You're human? He looks rather ordinary. He is not part of this, Yura said quickly. Leave him alone. I am afraid I cannot do that. Hayok stepped closer to Doyen. You see, by sheltering a fugitive of the Draconary Empire, this human has committed a crime. The punishment is death. Doyen did not move. He met the prince's burning gaze without flinching. I have committed no crime, he said calmly. Yura is not a fugitive. She is a registered participant in the Galactic Marriage Exchange Program. According to Confederacy law, she has every right to be here. Hayok laughed. Confederacy law? Do you think laws matter to the Draconary Empire? We were conquering star systems when your species was still living in caves. Maybe. But you are not in your empire now. You are in human territory. And here, our laws apply. The prince's eyes narrowed. His claws extended slightly, sharp as knives. Be careful, human. I could kill you before you took another breath. Then do it. Everyone froze. Yura stared at Daya in shock. Even Hayok seemed surprised. You want to die? The prince asked. No, but I am not afraid of death either. I lost my entire family 5 years ago. My parents. My brother. Everyone I loved. Since then, I have been waiting to feel something again. Anything, if dying for what is right, is the only way to feel alive. Then so be it. Dahin took a step forward, putting himself directly between Hayok and Yura. But I do not think you will kill me, Prince Hayok, because if you do, you will have to explain to the Galactic Confederacy why a Draconary royal murdered an unarmed human, civilian on his own property. The other species already distrust your empire. Give them a reason to unite against you, and even the Empress will not survive the consequences. Hayok's jaw tightened. His scales flickered with barely contained rage before he could respond. Another voice cut through the tension. The human is correct. Everyone turned to see an older man walking toward them from the colony's main dome. He wore a military uniform, decorated with medals and ribbons. His hair was gray, his face weathered by decades of service, but his eyes were sharp and alert. Commander Tai Wu, Dayun said, surprised. What are you doing here? I received word that a Draconary warship had entered our space. Thought I should come see what the fuss was about. Tai Wu stopped next to Doyen and faced Prince Hayok. Your Highness, I am Commander Tai Wu, military liaison for this sector. I believe there has been a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, Hayok said. This woman is property of the Draconary Empire. I am here to retrieve her. With respect, that is incorrect. Tai Wu pulled out a small tablet and held it up. According to Article 47 of the Human Draconary Treaty of 2799, any being who has resided on human territory for more than 7 standard days and expressed intent to remain falls under human legal protection. Lady Yura has been living in this colony for 8 days. She is now protected by our laws. She never formally requested asylum. She does not need to. The treaty states that continued residence constitutes implied intent. Your empire agreed to these terms 200 years ago. Hayok's claws dug into his palms, drawing blood. This is absurd. You cannot hide behind paperwork forever. We are not hiding, Doyen said. We are standing right here, in the open, telling you no. The prince looked from Doyen to Tai Wu to Yura. His soldiers shifted uncomfortably behind him. They had come expecting an easy retrieval. Instead, they had found resistance. Very well, Hayok said finally. His voice was calm, but his eyes promised violence. I will withdraw. From now. But know this, human my mother does not forget. And she does not forgive. You have made yourself an enemy of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. He turned and began walking back toward his shuttle. At the ramp, he paused and looked over his shoulder at Yura. "And you, sister, you think you have found safety here? With these humans? They are insects. They live for barely a century and accomplish nothing. When you are old and gray and dying in this miserable colony, remember that you could have come home. Remember that you chose this." The shuttle lifted off and rose toward the warship. Within minutes, the Crimson Talon had turned and was heading out of the solar system. Yura let out a breath she had been holding. Her legs gave out and she sank to her knees. "It is over?" she whispered. "They are really leaving?" "For now," Commander Taiwu said. But the prince was right about one thing. The Empress will not let this stand. She will find another way. Do-hyun knelt beside Yura and put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we will be ready." Taiwu looked at them both and shook his head. "You are either very brave, young man, or very foolish. That is the second time someone has said that to me today. Maybe there is a reason." Taiwu sighed and tucked his tablet away. "I owed your father a debt, Do-hyun. He saved my life during the colony riots of 2820. Today, I have repaid that debt. But I cannot protect you forever. Whatever comes next, you will have to face it on your own." He walked away, leaving Do-hyun and Yura alone on the landing platform. The stars were coming out above the dome, cold and distant. Somewhere among them, the Crimson Talon was carrying news of humiliation back to the Empress. "Why?" Yura asked quietly. "Why did you risk everything for me?" Do-hyun helped her to her feet. He looked at her face, at the tears forming in her golden eyes, at the scales that shimmered like gemstones in the starlight. "Because someone should have done the same for my family," he said. "No one did. I will not make that mistake again." Yura studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. "You are not like other humans," she said softly. "Maybe. Or maybe I am exactly like them. Maybe that is the point." They stood together in silence, two unlikely souls united against an empire, watching the stars and wondering what tomorrow would bring. Send Me Back, Part 4. Fire and Iron 6 months had passed since Prince Hyok's visit. Life on lunar colony Habaradi had settled into a quiet rhythm. Do-hyun went to work every day. Yura learned to cook human food, burning the rice more often than not. They watched old movies together in the evenings and argued about which species made better art. It was almost peaceful. Almost normal. But they both knew the storm was coming. Yura had started teaching Do-hyun the Draconary language. His accent was terrible, she told him, but his memory was good. He learned the words for fire, honor, home, and family. He learned the phrases used in greetings and farewells. He learned the ancient proverbs her father had taught her as a child. In return, Do-hyun taught her about humanity. He showed her how to make kimchi and fold dumplings. He explained the meaning of human holidays and the stories behind human constellations. He told her about his family, about the accident that took them, about the 5 years of loneliness that followed. Slowly, carefully, they built something neither of them had expected. Not quite friendship, not quite love. Something in between. Something fragile and precious. Then the news arrived. Do-hyun was walking home from work when his Vaj's communication device buzzed with an emergency alert. He stopped in the middle of the corridor and read the message. His blood turning cold. The Draconary Empress had issued an ultimatum to Earth's government. Surrender Yura within 30 days or face economic sanctions and possible military action. The message was broadcast across all Confederacy channels. Everyone had heard it. Everyone knew. When Do-hyun reached home, he found Yura sitting on the couch, staring at the wall. Her scales had gone completely gray, the color of ash. "You heard," he said, double quotes, "yes. What do you want to do?" Yura laughed bitterly. "What can I do? If I surrender, I die. If I stay, your entire planet suffers. Either way, the Empress wins. Do-hyun sat down beside her. He took her hand in his, feeling the smoothness of her scales against his rough skin. There is another option, he said. What? We fight. Yura shook her head. You cannot fight the Draconary Empire. They have 1,000 warships, 10 million soldiers, technology that your species cannot even understand. Maybe, but we have something they do not. What? Do-hyun smiled. Stubbornness. That night, Do-hyun did something that changed everything. He sat down at his communication console and recorded a message. A simple message, spoken in plain words, without any fancy speeches or political language. My name is Park Do-hyun, he began. I am a maintenance worker on lunar colony Habaragi. I am nobody special. I fix pipes and clean filters for a living. But 6 months ago, a woman came to my door. A Draconary woman named Yura. She did not choose to come here. She was sent here to die, exiled by an empress who murdered her father and destroyed her family. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The empress wants her back. She has threatened my entire planet if we do not give her up. She thinks we will surrender because we are weak. Because we are afraid. Because we are only human. Do-hyun leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. She is wrong. You call us weak because we die young. You call us fragile because we feel deeply. But we have survived ice ages, plagues, and ourselves. We have crawled out of every disaster that should have destroyed us. We do not abandon our own. Yura of the Third Flame is under my protection. She came to my door, and that makes her my family. If you want her, come and take her. But know that every human who hears this message will stand beside me. Because that is who we are. That is what we do. We protect our own. He ended the recording and broadcast it across every public channel he could access. Then, he sat back and waited. Within hours, the message had spread across the entire Confederacy. Millions of beings watched it. Some laughed at the foolish human who thought he could challenge an empire. Some dismissed it as propaganda. But many, far more than Do-hyun had expected, were moved. Messages began arriving from other species. The Volcori, a race of insect-like beings who had been oppressed by the Draconari for centuries, sent words of support. The Thalorians, peaceful traders who valued honor above profit, offered to help. Even some Draconari, those who still remembered General Kang and his principles, reached out in secret. Do-hyun's sister Bora called him the next day. You are insane, she said. Do you know that? Completely, utterly insane. Probably. The Earth government is furious. They are talking about handing you over to the Empress, just to make her happy. Let them try. Bora sighed. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I am proud of you, brother. Mom and Dad would be too. 2 weeks later, the Draconary fleet arrived. 50 warships jumped into the solar system. Led by the Crimson Talon, they formed a blockade around Earth's moon, cutting off all traffic and communication. The Empress had sent her message. Surrender now, or face annihilation. Earth's military scrambled to respond. Admiral Jisoo, commander of the human fleet, gathered every ship she could find. Patrol boats, cargo vessels, mining drones, anything that could fly and fight. It was a pitiful force compared to the Draconari Armada, but it was something. Do-hyun watched the preparations from his habitat window. Yura stood beside him, her golden eyes fixed on the distant lights of the warships. You should evacuate, she said quietly. No, please, Do-hyun. I cannot watch you die because of me. Do-hyun turned to face her. He reached up and touched her cheek, feeling the warmth of her scales beneath his fingers. I am not dying for you, he said. I am living for you. There is a difference. Yura's eyes filled with tears. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Then the alarm started. The Draconari had launched their attack. Diane pulled Yura toward the emergency shelter beneath the habitat. All around them, the colony shook as explosions rocked the outer dome. Warning lights flashed. People screamed and ran through the corridors, but then something unexpected happened. New ships appeared on the sensors. Not Draconari ships. Ships from a dozen different species Valkyrie carriers, Thalorian cruisers, even a few rogue Draconari vessels flying the old flag of General Kang. They had answered Do-Hyun's call. They had come to help. Admiral Jisu's voice crackled over the emergency broadcast. All ships, this is Admiral Jisu. We have Allied reinforcements entering the system. The Draconari are outnumbered. I repeat, we have a fighting chance. All ships, engage. Do-Hyun and Yura huddled together in the shelter, listening to the sounds of battle above them. Explosions shook the ground. Metal screamed as ships collided and broke apart. Hours passed like minutes. Finally, silence. The emergency broadcast crackled to life again. This is Admiral Jisu. The Draconari fleet is retreating. I repeat, the enemy is retreating. We have won. Do-Hyun let out a breath he had been holding for what felt like years. He looked at Yura, at the tears streaming down her face, at the disbelief in her golden eyes. We won? She whispered, we won. Yura threw her arms around him and held him tight. Her scales were warm against his skin, and her heart beat fast against his chest. How? She asked. How did we win? Do-Hyun smiled and hugged her back. Because humans are too stubborn to lose, he said. And because we are not alone anymore. Outside the shelter, the stars shone bright and clear. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Send me back. Part 5. My son already chose you one. A year had passed since the Battle of Soldan. The Galactic Confederacy had officially recognized humanity's right to grant asylum to any being seeking protection. The Draconari Empress, weakened by her military failure and facing growing unrest within her own empire, could no longer pursue Yura without risking open rebellion. For the first time in centuries, her power was slipping. Lunar colony Habaragi had changed. What was once a quiet mining outpost had become something more, a sanctuary. Draconari refugees arrived every month, fleeing the Empress and her cruelty. Dissidents, exiles, those who remembered General Kang and still believed in his ideals. They came seeking safety, and Do-Hyun welcomed them all. Yura had taken charge of the refugee settlement. She organized housing, distributed supplies, and settled disputes between newcomers. She was good at it, Do-Hyun realized. She had the fire of a warrior, but the heart of a leader. Her father would have been proud. Their habitat had grown. Extra rooms had been added for guests and orphans. The kitchen was always full of strange smells, Draconari spices mixed with Korean recipes. It was chaotic and loud and wonderful. Do-Hyun still worked as a maintenance engineer, but now he had helpers. Young Draconari who wanted to learn human technology followed him through the tunnels, asking questions and taking notes. He taught them everything he knew, and they taught him things in return. One evening, Yura came home looking troubled. She sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the wall for a long time. What is wrong? Do-Hyun asked, setting down a pot of soup he had been cooking. I received a message today. From someone I thought. Who? My mother. Do-Hyun sat down across from her. Your mother? I thought she died after your father was executed. So did I, but apparently she survived. She has been hiding in the outer colonies, waiting for the right moment to contact me. Yura pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. She sent me a recorded message. I have not opened it yet. Do you want to be alone? Yura shook her head. No, I want you with me. She pressed a button on the device. A hologram flickered to life above the table. an elderly Draconari woman with silver scales and tired golden eyes. She was thin and frail, nothing like the proud noble Yura had described from her childhood memories. Time and grief had worn her down. "My daughter," the woman began, her voice cracking with emotion. "If you are seeing this, then you have survived. You have found a place to call home. I'm sorry I could not be there with you. I am sorry for so many things." The hologram paused, as if gathering strength. "There is something you must know. Something I should have told you long ago, but I was afraid. Your father, before he died, he made arrangements for your future. The marriage program, the match to Earth, it was not random. He chose it." Yura's eyes widened. "What?" "Your father had visions," the hologram continued. "You know this. The gift of foresight runs in our bloodline. In his final months, he saw glimpses of your future. He saw a human, a young man, alone and broken, living on a distant moon. Your father said this man had something rare, a spirit that would not bend, a heart that would not break. He said, this one will protect her when I cannot." Dohyun felt the blood drain from his face. He looked at Yura, but she was frozen, staring at the hologram. "I did not believe him," the mother said. "I thought the visions were just dreams, fantasies of a dying man. When he asked me to register you in the marriage program and match you to this specific human, I thought it was madness. But I did it anyway, because I loved him and because he had never been wrong before." The hologram's eyes seemed to look directly at Yura. "You asked me to send you back once. When you first learned of the match, you came to me crying and begged me to cancel it. Do you remember what I told you?" Yura nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. "I told you, my son already chose you." Dohyun's breath caught in his throat. "Your father," he whispered. "She meant your father. In our culture," Yura said softly, "children call their fathers my son as a term of deep respect. It means he is the child of my heart, the one I raised and loved and watched grow into something greater than myself." The hologram continued. "Your father saw this moment, daughter. He saw you standing beside this human, surrounded by those you have saved, building something new from the ashes of everything we lost. He died believing that you would find your way. He died knowing that you would be protected. Please, honor his memory. Honor the choice he made. And forgive me for doubting him." The message ended. The hologram faded away, leaving only silence. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Yura turned to Dohyun, her golden eyes shimmering with tears. "He knew," she said. "My father knew. He saw you all those years ago, and he chose you for me." Dohyun did not know what to say. His mind was spinning with questions and emotions he could not name. All this time, he had thought their meeting was an accident, a bureaucratic error, a twist of fate. But it was something else entirely. It was destiny. "Dohyun," Yura said, taking his hands in hers, "I need to ask you something. Anything. Do you regret it? Any of it? The danger, the fighting, the chaos I brought into your life?" Dohyun looked at her. He looked at her golden eyes, her purple scales, the small horns that curved elegantly from her forehead. He remembered the day she arrived, confused and proud and desperate. He remembered the night he decided to protect her. He remembered the battle, the fear, the triumph. "No," he said firmly. "I do not regret a single moment." Yura smiled a real smile, warm and bright and full of hope. "Then neither do I." The door to their habitat burst open, and a young Draconari child ran inside. He was barely 10 years old, with bright green scales and enormous curious eyes. He had arrived on the colony 3 months ago, an orphan whose parents had been killed by the Empress's soldiers. "Dohyun! Yura!" he shouted. "There's a new shuttle arriving." More refugees. Yura wiped her tears and stood up. How many? 30. Maybe more. We will need to prepare extra beds. She looked at Doyen. Can you check the food supplies? Already on it. They moved through the habitat together, working side by side, preparing for the new arrivals. The chaos had become routine. The strangers had become family. Later that night, after the refugees had been settled and the colony had grown quiet, Do-hyun and Yura stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. What do we do now? Yura asked softly. Same thing we have always done, Do-hyun replied. We take care of our people. We protect our home. We keep going. Yura leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. Your father was right about you, you know? What do you mean? You do not bend. You do not break. No matter what happens, you keep standing. She looked up at him with those golden eyes that still made his heart race. That is what my father saw. That is why he chose you. Do-hyun put his arm around her and pulled her close. Then I guess we are stuck with each other, he said. Yura laughed softly. I suppose we are. Above them, the stars burned bright and eternal. Somewhere out there, empires rose and fell. Wars raged and ended. Countless beings lived and loved and died. But here, on this small moon orbiting a small planet, two souls had found something worth fighting for. A home, a family, a future. And in the end, that was all that mattered.